I think I might have just found a new Toyota SUV that might be worth buying right now. It's not the new Land Cruiser, and it's not even the new Toyota 4Runner, even though the new 4Runner I think just looks super cool. It's actually a new Toyota SUV that recently got a full redesign, and it's not just the redesign that Toyota totally knocked it out of the park with. It's also starting at a very, very cheap price in this crazy market of overpriced expensive SUVs. And yes, when I say cheap, I do mean it's actually really, really cheap. The midsize SUV market is absolutely on fire right now, and I think that's because with the price of fuel and the cost of full-size SUVs, people are just looking at options that have better gas mileage and are also more affordable. And so I want to show you 3 or 4 other vehicles that this new Toyota SUV competes with, so you can see how many good midsize SUVs there are to choose from, and then you can make an opinion, like an informed opinion, on if the new Toyota is actually way better than all these other brands. And I'm actually gonna start right here at Nissan because they have 2 cool SUVs on this lot right here that you probably forgot about. And Nissan is one of my favorite brands, and with them struggling, I gotta prop them up a little bit and show you 2 cool SUVs that they have right now. And that first one is the Nissan Rogue. The Nissan Rogue's new design, if you haven't looked at it, you really need to take a look, because this thing right here, I think Nissan knocked it out of the park. It just looks so good. And there's one specific version that I want to show you that I think is the one to get. So right here, you can see this is the Platinum version. It's more of like your daily driver, good city style, but right next to it is the version, and it's more off-roady looking, kind of like the Pro 4X Armada. And this one right here is the Rock Creek Edition. You'll notice it has black wheels, more aggressive Wild Peak off-road tires, a little bit more aggressive fully blacked out front end, and it's in this dark green color that I think looks really, really, really good. In the overall styling of this new Rogue, I think Nissan just totally crushed it. And it's not just the outside that looks good on this new Rogue, the inside looks fantastic as well. So opening up the door, I think the leather stitching, it actually is similar to the Pro 4X Armada. You get this nice black leather with the orange stitching that continues across the dash, and it's like this stitching is like Porsche level of perfection. And it continues onto the seats as well, going into the center console, and also on the steering wheel. And there's one really cool thing I want to show you about the interior of this Rogue that I think they totally knocked it out of the park, and that's the gauge cluster right here. You'll notice you still have analog gauges on the left and the right side, and then they have a digital dash for all your information in the center as well, and of course a screen that's just not too big. I think this is the right size, and these seats are pretty comfortable. So Nissan, good on you for not having like a fully digital screen in this Rogue. I think it's kind of blends old and new perfectly. And as far as price goes, I think this is a pretty good bargain. So for this 2026 Nissan Rogue Rock Creek, you're looking at $38,035, so under $40,000 for this. And it's a pretty high trim level. And by the way, as far as miles per gallon, you know, gas is really expensive. And so I want to show you the MPG. And that's 29 combined city and highway with 32 MPG on the highway. So I think the Rogue is pretty cool, but there's also a Rock Creek version of a bit larger SUV, and that's the new Pathfinder. I think the quality continues with Nissan in this new Pathfinder as well. They got open country all-terrain tires. It's got the same Rock Creek logo, and it looks just as aggressive as the little Rogue too. So if you want something a little bit bigger, the Pathfinder's pretty nice. And as far as the interior goes, it's got similar leather across the seats with the Rock Creek logo. And of course, the same style gauge cluster with the screen in the middle as well. And a bit longer, more horizontal screen in the center dash. And as far as price goes on the Pathfinder, it's obviously going to be a little bit more expensive because it's bigger than a Rogue. And because it's a bigger SUV, it gets less miles per gallon. So for the 2026, you're looking at 21 combined MPG, 23 on the highway, and it's $47,265. So I think Nissan is really crushing it on their midsize and smaller SUV designs. But let me show you what's going on at Honda. So this is where the competitors to Toyota's new SUV actually gets quite interesting, because I think what Honda did here with the new Passport is completely amazing. And not just any of the Honda Passports. This is the new Trail Sport edition, as you can see by the Trail Sport badge right there. This one is more of their aggressive off-road version. And it actually is kind of similar to the Rock Sport trim of that Rogue and the Pathfinder. So it has a more boxy design than the Rogue and the Pathfinder. It's actually a pretty big boxy design, but it's a more aggressive off-road version. You get grabber all-terrain tires. You get these neat little orange tow hooks on the front, and I think it's just pretty aggressive looking, especially for a Honda. I never thought I would say the words aggressive and Honda in the same sentence, but with the new Passport in this trim level, here we are. Not only does the outside of this look really, really good, the inside gets even better. You've actually got similar leather with orange stitching to the Nissan, but this orange stitching is just a little bit brighter than on the Nissan. And then they have this kind of tough cloth material right here that is a little bit more rugged. It's an off-road SUV, so it makes sense. That gray cloth material and orange stitching continues onto the dashboard and then also into the seat here. And this is a little bit cloth on the side bolster here and then leather in the center, kind of total opposite of what Nissan has done. Also, this little boot up screen when you close the door is kind of cool. But sitting in this, the seats are a little bit harder than they were in that Nissan Rogue and in the Pathfinder. I don't think it will be as comfortable on long road trips. In the Nissan Armada, in the Pathfinder, the Rogue, I kind of felt like I was squishing in the seat a little bit. This does feel a little bit harder, but still more comfortable than my Jeep Wrangler. I also do like how simple the steering wheel is. And Honda did go with the 2-screen setup, unlike the Nissan where they have analog clusters and digital in the middle. So you get a full-size screen in the center dash here with all the information, and you get a bigger screen, a little bit more horizontal than vertical, or like a square right here in the center. The dash is super, super simple with the Passport name here. You got the start button, and then you've got the vents that go across the center of the dash, a little cubby right here above the glove box, and then of course the glove box down below. And I do like how they integrated the screen up here, but you also have physical controls for the air conditioning and a place here to set your phone and charge it. And of course, 2 big cup holders in the center. And like a lot of other new cars, they're moving to buttons for your park, reverse, neutral, drive. And then I like this little toggle switch for the drive mode. I also like that it's orange. And then you got your auto start button, which you should always turn off immediately. And of course, your parking brake. Center console, a lot of room here. And plenty of legroom in the back seat as well. That's super nice. There's also quite a bit of storage here in the back, and I do like the auto liftgate. But as you can see, even with the seats folded up in the second row, you have a ton of storage space in the back. But the big question with this trim level, the Passport, is the price. This is a pretty dark window, but it's a 2026 in sunset orange, and it's $51,350. So a little over $51,000 for this Trail Sport Edition Honda Passport. But that's pretty much like the most expensive Passport that you can get right now. They do have another version, like a lower trim level, that does get a little less expensive and more in line with the Nissans that we were just looking at. This right here is an RTL trim level, and if you don't need all the off-road things, you could just grab one of these and it'll save you a few $1,000s. And to be honest, it still looks pretty cool. I mean, it's good looking and it does have the center like hood thing there. It just doesn't have like the aggressive off-roady look that this Trail Sport has. And the price of this lower trim level version is $48,485. So that is the new Honda Passport. And of course, there's one more brand I want to stop at, and that'll be the third vehicle that I think competes directly with this new Toyota. And I want to show you that right now. And here we are at Ford to talk about the vehicle that I think is also a competitor to the new Toyota. And that's going to be the Bronco Sport, because it's not only a competitor in size, it's also a competitor in the price of the vehicle, because the price of this is similar to the new Toyota that I'm going to talk about right after this. And of course, just like any vehicle, the Bronco Sport has trim levels all the way down to like cheap to what could be like the highest trim level and also the highest price, of course. But the Bronco that I see at dealerships more than any other Bronco Sport is the Outer Banks trim level, like you see right here. There's an Outer Banks right there, and there's 3 Outer Banks trim levels right here as well. And that green one right there, also an Outer Banks. What a shocker. And here's the interesting part that I want to talk about before we go to Toyota. Ford actually has a quite significant discount on this because the MSRP of this right here on the Outer Banks trim makes it a little bit higher or right at the level of the new Toyota that I'm about to show you. But with the discount, it is actually cheaper. This Outer Banks right here with the 1.5 liter EcoBoost is $45,635. And we're also talking about MPG in here. This doesn't get as good of an MPG as you would think for being such a small SUV. Combined city and highway is 24 miles per gallon, and that's 26 on the highway. So not as good as some of the other vehicles that we looked at before, and definitely it doesn't even come close to the new Toyota that I'm about to show you. But like I said, Ford has discounts on the Bronco Sport, and it's pretty significant. With the dealer discount, you get $6,000 off, and then if you qualify for all the rebates, that's another $3,000. So a potential total of $9,000 off, bringing it to $36,635. So for 36 grand, you can get you a Ford Bronco Sport. And I think I've made so many videos on the Bronco Sport that I don't need to go into too much detail, because now it's time to get to the new Toyota. So I finally made it here to Toyota, and this is Edmark Toyota in Nampa, Idaho, to show you what I think is one of the best Toyota SUVs that they've ever made. And not only the best Toyota SUV ever made, it's one of the best new redesigns of any Toyota SUV that I personally have ever seen so far. And that's going to be this SUV right behind me. It's the newly redesigned Toyota RAV4. And when I first saw the photos of the new RAV4 design, I was kind of a little bit skeptical at first. The angles, in my opinion, kind of looked a little weird from the photos, but I don't think the photos actually do this new redesign any justice whatsoever, because I think this new RAV4 design really looks amazing. I think Toyota completely crushed it on the design of this new RAV4, and I want to point out a few things that I think look really cool and why I think this will completely destroy Mazda, Ford, and yes, even Honda when it comes to like the mid-size SUV market. First of all, this is a lot more boxy than the previous generation RAV4. And one thing I want to highlight here is on the front end. And if you've seen the new Lexus GX 550, you'll notice that the RAV4 actually has this indentation that goes across the middle of the hood right here, and then it kind of bumps up in a more boxy profile, just like the hood on the GX 550. So I like the fact that they took some cues from a $90,000 Lexus SUV and put it into a $40,000 Toyota RAV4. I think that kind of brings in a little bit more of a luxurious look to the new RAV4, and that's pretty cool. But the overall boxy shape of the front end is just totally cool looking, and I think Toyota did a good job on it. Even the headlights kind of cutting in a little bit like this. I thought I wouldn't like it at first, but the more I look at it, the more I really like it. And that kind of new boxiness continues all the way along the side of the RAV4 and onto the back as well. You see how once it gets here, this is pretty much almost a straight line all the way down the bumper from the bottom of the windshield. And then it tucks in a little bit here and kind of comes out for the light here, and a little bit more aerodynamics. Better aerodynamics will always improve fuel economy. And one of the things where this RAV4 really shines is the fuel economy. It's actually really good, and definitely better than my Jeep that gets like 17 miles per gallon on the highway. So this version right here is the XSE in the all-wheel drive hybrid. And it's a brand new 2026 model with hybrid all-wheel drive, a 2.5 liter four-cylinder for $47,214, and this is a higher trim level, so it's going to be a bit more expensive. They do have a base model here, which actually starts way less than I thought it would. And in this market of $50,000 plus SUVs or $45,000 like this one, the cheap version, the price might actually surprise you, because I was surprised when I saw it. But anyways, you can get 41 combined city and highway. You get 43 city and 37 on the highway. And you get a pretty good amount in the city because of that hybrid system. So in this economy where the gas prices are out of control, 41 miles per gallon is, you can't just beat that, to be honest. But as far as the outside, like I said, they completely crushed it on the design of the outside. I even like the black wheels, and black wheels for some people can be pretty controversial, but the black wheels with the white and the black roof actually go well together. But what about the inside? Let me take a minute and show you the inside. And this is the first time I personally ever sat in one. I saw one in person in Texas, but I've never sat in one. So let's jump inside and see what that is all about. So on the inside of this, it's kind of a mix between leather on the side bolsters and the headrest, and this breathable cloth material down the middle, which I actually like the breathable cloth because leather kind of makes you a bit more sweaty, especially in the summer. And right now, sitting in these seats, I can tell you if I took like a 1,200-mile road trip down to Texas or Southern California or something for the summer, these seats are a lot more comfortable than my Jeep Wrangler. After about an hour or two in the Wrangler, it gets pretty uncomfortable and I find myself moving all the time. And of course, like most modern vehicles, they do have screens for just about everything in here. And I'm usually not a huge fan of screens in most vehicles, especially performance vehicles like a sports car or something. I think SUVs like this maybe kind of get a pass because that's where everything is moving. But as you can see here, the screens and everything are massive. And you can see here all your check engine lights, your tire pressures, and you can change this menu. Your miles per hour is going to be right here. And on the right side is going to be like your cruise control and all the extra driving information, plus your gas right here. And then the screen in the middle is absolutely massive. This looks just as big as the screen in the Sequoia, which is like $90,000 depending on the trim level you get. And then the steering wheel, I like it. It's really simple. It's not too big. It's easy to hold on to. You've got all the buttons here to control everything on the left side, all your cruise control and drive modes here on the right side, horn in the middle, and then over on the left side, your window controls are really easy to access. I actually kind of like how this steps up a little bit. It makes it pretty comfortable for your arm to rest either up here or on your knee. Seat controls right next to the door handle. And then in the center console right here, you've got your drive modes, you've got EV mode, you've got trail or snow, and then you've got normal driving mode. And then the center console here is really clean. You've got room for 2 cups right here, a little pocket for your phones and everything, and another pocket down here. And then of course, all your driving controls here as well. And you can change gears with this little lever. And an interesting thing to note, Porsche also uses like a little switch kind of thing in the middle of that as well. So I wonder if Toyota kind of stole that from Porsche. Just a thought. Plenty of room in the center console. And then of course, moving on to the passenger side, there's a lot of room for your feet. And then there's another storage pocket in the dash here for your passenger to put their phone. More cup holders over there. And then the back seat has a ton of room. And by the way, there's also a sunroof that goes all the way back. That's kind of cool. But as far as storage space goes, let's see what that's like. Got a little button right here, and then it opens up automatically, which is quite convenient if you've got stuff in your hands. And as you can see, they've got a box and the cargo mat right here. And then if you fold the seats down like this, which manual folding seats are where it's at. I know some people might say electronic folding seats are where it's at, but if you saw that video where somebody got crushed in it, you'll know that manual seats is actually where it's at. So you just flip these down and look at how much space you have all the way to the back seats there. This is a massive amount of space for a mid-size SUV. And then of course you press the button here and the back end closes pretty quickly actually. And so that right there is the XSE trim level. And speaking of fancy versions of the RAV4, if you want to feel extra fancy and classy at the same time, this all black XSE, I think it just looks freaking fantastic. And I never usually condone buying a black vehicle, but a black RAV4 I think would be an excellent choice. Remember I told you that they do have a lower trim level of the RAV4 here, and I want to show you how much that is. So they have this more base level RAV4 parked here. It just got delivered. You can see it's still got all the plastic stuff right here. And it's the LE trim level. Still looks just as good. It has a little bit more plasticky, like on the bumper, it's not gloss black. And you see the roof is just white instead of being black as well. And so how much will the lower trim level cost you? It might surprise you. This RAV4 LE Hybrid 2026 model is only $35,219. And it also gets 42 miles per gallon combined city and highway. So finding a really nice, reliable SUV for 35 grand in this market kind of blows my mind. And that's where I'm saying that this new RAV4 will totally destroy the Ford Bronco Sport, any of the midsize Mazda SUVs, and even that Honda Passport. But anyways, what do you think about the new RAV4? Do you think it's like a Ford, Mazda, and Honda killer, or is it something you might brush off? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, I'm Matt with MotorFeed. If you made it this far in the video, please subscribe so you can see our next video. Hit that like button, and I'll see you tomorrow.